Hi, this is Lisa Klein, and welcome to my quarantine-inspired TV show. I'm interviewing everybody I've ever met in my entire life. We're here today with my brother, who I adore, Dan Klein. And Dan is the president. Actually, this is what I should have asked you before we started is, how should I introduce you?
I don't know.
Why don't you introduce yourself, Dan? How would you describe yourself?
I'm a Capricorn. I like long walks on the beach. And I'm president and CEO of a few different companies that start with the word Sage. So Sage Marketing, Sage Staffing, Sage Coaching.
And Sage means wisdom. So therefore you should be triple wise. You should be the wisest person we've spoken to lately.
I have to do it Albert Einstein way. Yeah.
Exactly. So Sage Marketing, that's your digital marketing company, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then Sage Staffing is your staffing company.
Yep.
And Danny actually is responsible for the hire of our amazing, incredible Washington, D.C. admin, Sherelle. That was all Danny's doing because it takes forever to find a staffing person. And Danny had the time at the time I needed it. And you spent hours and hours and hours combing through Indeed ads, and you found Sherelle, which was amazing.
Yep.
She's fantastic. So and now you found that that's a marketable thing that people really need. So,
yeah, we actually combined doing that with marketing. So for the staffing company, we proactively target people and then invite them to apply for a job similar to the one that they already have or they have a credential for. So they might not be looking for a job. They'll just be presented with a job. So that's what makes the Sage Staffing so cool. Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
You're so creative. Creative, that Danny. And then your other way. So what's the other business?
Sage Marketing, Sage Staffing, Sage Coaching.
That's
so right. I am a certified coach. So we coach a lot of executives, entrepreneurs. I love working with entrepreneurs. That's my passion. So yeah, it's people that are on an island a lot because you run your own company, and to have just someone to download what's on your mind and think through solutions, it's a good way to coach people. So we love it.
And that's kind of what led me to invite Danny on the show today, is that you were telling me this story, because right now with a lot of our businesses, and I belong to EO, which is this global organization for entrepreneurs. And, everybody's like, oh my God, what do I do with my business? And so the word pivot is a word that's taken on a lot of importance now, which is like, how do I pivot my business? So for us, we are hands-on care. We touch people.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, we can't really pivot that completely, but we've started doing telehealth. We're doing the videos. We're going to put the classes online. So we have our main business, but we have pivoted a little bit in the time of this whole situation. Yeah. But you were telling me this story that was just phenomenal. So if you want to share your pivoting story, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just trying to think, you're like closer than I am on the camera. Like if I do like that, I don't know. So,
we're both tech wizards, as you can tell.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, I mean, what's going on in the world is something that people really aren't, not prepared for, but it's kind of shocking to your system what's going on. So like unemployment numbers came out again today. There's 22 million people that are unemployed just as of March, and that doesn't even count the people who were being paid off the books. So it's larger than that. So with a lot of these things going on, people, have that holy shit kind of moment, that's why I asked you if I could curse, because it's like, holy shit, what the fuck am I going to do?
Totally fine.
And that's normal. So
curse. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. So no one likes this amount of shock to their system. So there's two words that come to mind. One of them is pivot, the one that you said, and the other one is being agile. And it's not every day that as a business owner, you have to recreate your company and decide how you can redo things in order to stay in business. So that's traumatic to a lot of business owners right now, understandably, because you have employees you need to think about, you have expenses, you have rent, you have your own business to think about, and how you're going to grow it. This is a lot. This is a lot for a lot of people. So the work that we're doing now is really a combination of consulting, coaching, and marketing, in really understanding what that business owner is trying to do, how they can pivot their business, how they can take things that they have within their business and use them in ways to build their business and kind of move forward. So the story that you told, that you mentioned, so I'll briefly bring you through the story. So this was one of our clients. He has a produce company in New York, and he supplies restaurants with produce. So obviously the restaurants are closed, or they're
an existing client.
Existing client, yep.
What were you working with him on?
We were working with him on marketing. So we built his website, we helped him with his messaging, we do his social media. And so we were highlighting different restaurants and kind of growing his restaurant brand as far as where he was supplying different, restaurants with produce and other products that he offers. So more of a B2B kind of company. And I get this call because it's right after all this craziness happened and all the restaurants are closing, and he's got about 800,000 in inventory that he doesn't know what to do with now, because he has a warehouse full of food. So we had the conversation of, okay, it reminds me of Princess Bride. And when they're about to attack the castle after he was mostly dead, he was saying, what do we have? And he's like, well, I have this cloak. And he's like, well, what else do we have? And he goes, we have a wheelbarrow. And he's like, why didn't you tell me we had a wheelbarrow? So, it's kind of that kind of conversation.
That's a bride analogy. So,
so it's kind of like, first you do an inventory. What do you have? And, because we all have certain things in our businesses as components where sometimes they're more important than other times. So I'm Italian, it's like a hands going. So in this case, he had a fleet of trucks that he uses to deliver to grocery stores, and restaurants. So they're refrigerated trucks. So the conversation was, okay, can we create a system really quickly to deliver to people's houses? Because you already have the trucks, you already have the produce. Now we're just missing the connection between the people and your products. So we had a website created within a day, which was pretty insane. And it was a company out of London, actually, called Choco, that created the website very quickly for us, because you had to be able to pick which food you wanted to order, and based on their inventory, and send that to them to order it. So what we did is we did a very aggressive social media campaign, and we targeted people locally in certain areas that they could deliver to. So he went from getting 0 home delivery orders. So now I think the other day he had 700.
This is on Facebook. And what social media are you using?
Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, think about it. Everyone's home. So you got to, in your inventory, it's how can you communicate with people?
Well, hello. It's what would we do with Facebook right now?
Yep. So that's thinking through. It's, what do you have? How can you position what you have to where things are right now? And then how can you communicate with people that can best hear your message? That's what this process is about. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, it starts out as a painful process, because you have to grieve through the loss of like what business used to be like, not knowing what business could be like in the future. And it's a tough process. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not an easy process to do.
Well, it's because I live in downtown DC, and I have 2 offices, one about 3 blocks from the White House, and then the other one in Virginia. Mm-hmm. So we took 2 weeks down, but I treated a little bit, and we opened again, so we've been open on a limited capacity for a couple of weeks. So I've been walking around DC, I've been in the office, and it is apocalyptically weird. But I'm kind of used to it now, because it's been a few weeks. And my Megan, who basically runs my business for me, with me, she's great. She went to the office yesterday for the first time, and she was so upset. And because it's shocking when you are in an office that's used to having 5 people in it, it's a shocking thing.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
I feel like I've been grieving it over the past few weeks, but everybody's in different stages of grief over where they are with the whole thing. But I think
everyone. Sorry, what'd you say?
Well, and it's kind of tunes back to the videos that we put out, which is you want to feel that grief, but you want it to move through you. So we have processing techniques to help you move through that, because part of it is you don't want those feelings to overwhelm you, because then you can't think clearly. So part of what you did for that business is you were like more objective, right?
Well, we're able to be objective. Yeah, because we're not part of the, so any business owner works within their business because it's yours. You own it, you built it. We're able to operate, outside of your business and see it just from a different point of view. And just that is a little bit helpful because we are able to be a little less emotional about it. And it helps us to maybe see different options that the individual business owner might not see. But it's the process, exactly what you're talking about. It's being able to move past the shock and grief of what the world is right now, not knowing how long this is going to last or what it's going to look like afterwards, and just thinking through how can I create a future. And I think that's a tall order for a lot of people right now. And that's why, the work that I'm doing with a lot of clients right now is having conversations just like this and having them in a compassionate kind of way, because there is a lot of emotion there. So the work that you do, it's, I'm sure you're going to have tons of people after this whole thing that are like, their bodies are going to be just trying to figure out what happened, right?
We had a nurse come in who's a nurse at NIH, and she walked in, and so for those of you who have not watched the other videos, so the adrenals, which are the glands that sit on the kidneys like little hats, they produce those stress hormones. So in terms of
located like right there.
Not anywhere near that. So, and they put you into a fight or flight. So it's your adrenals, it's your stomach, it's your vagus nerve, it's all those structures together that put you into this fight, flight, or freeze situation. And you could use the hands to kind of move that through you, which is great. And then it's your lungs that process the grief. So this woman, and I've known her for years, she came in and they're getting ready to open up a 40-bed unit, whatever, this whole thing. And her adrenals were just like, I'm like, oh my God. So we spent the whole time just calming, getting her out of shock, basically.
Yeah.
So yes, so you can do these things manually, and the more you do them, the more you'll be able to function with half a brain at least. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, what I'm seeing right now is I'm seeing people that are able to be agile, move faster, and find opportunities. And it's a process. So it's not like you just wake up one morning and you're like, oh, I can rethink my whole business now and I'm ready. It's like you need a process to do that. But what I am seeing, with businesses around the country there are people that are buying businesses right now. They're putting money into businesses. They are growing their businesses. There are, I have clients that are busier than they've ever been because they were able to pivot. And that might have been a little easier for them to do or faster for them to do based on their business or what they had. But I think it's going to be a process for people to get more, back in the saddle kind of, while we're stuck at home, or, the business model is so different than what it was before. But it's that, thinking through how you can pivot, being able to be agile, being a little optimistic, sometimes unrealistically, as far as like where this could go, because that's who's going to be able to move forward the fastest, is someone who can see an opportunity before other people can see it.
Well, it's funny. I have a patient who, she's from New York, and she sees a psychologist in New York. This guy's like super well known apparently. And so he's doing these calls every Monday. It's like something called paradox process. Okay. And so I was on a call a couple of weeks ago, and what he talks about is, energy is energy. So you have all of this energy right now, all of the stuff that's going on, but it's the same energy as creativity. So it's like, he's like, tap into, I know it sounds weird, but tap into all of this churning that's happening and do the things you've always wanted to do. Like, use this as a creative time. So this interview program is something I've always wanted to do. The videos. So yeah, so it's like, okay, here's the situation, grieve it, deal with the shock. And then you have to try and, shift quickly.
Yeah. It's that like acceptance curve where you have to you grieve it and then you accept it and then you move forward. And, you and I are both entrepreneurs. people that work at larger companies, people that are in, kind of steadier type of careers, this is that much more shocking to a system. Entrepreneurs are worried, they're used to worrying about paying the rent and stuff. I mean, that's just part of the deal. The general public, what?
The day to day for us.
Exactly. Yeah. The general public is not used to that. So, now everyone's kind of living like an entrepreneur, like, hey, what's going to happen next month? That's not a usual mindset for people. So again, I guess the rest of the world is living like an entrepreneur right now, but it's kind of traumatic for people. So yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be, we're going to look back at this time and say, how did the world get transformed? We'll see Amazon taking over companies because they're growing so fast and taking over many businesses at the moment. How did healthcare grow? How did other companies like restaurants, how they survived, which ones survived, how they do it, and which companies were able to pivot quickly enough into healthcare, telemedicine, providing their services remotely. That's what we're going to look back as the case study and see, okay, what did those people do? How did they pivot? And how did they kind of make that come together?
And I think it really goes back to mindset, which is a big buzzword in all kinds of coaching and training. It's all about how you see something. It's all about, again, your mindset. So if you see this as, the worst thing that's ever happened, you kind of get caught in all of the trauma and the grief and all that, you can't pivot because you're too busy, all those things, they weigh you down.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so what we're seeing, and it's funny because Dan and I grew up in an environment where we were, how shall we say, put in a situation to become resilient pretty young. So
definitely, we had to pivot.
Dan and I have a high level of resilience. What?
I said we had to pivot.
Yeah, we had to pivot very young. So yeah, but it makes you, again, more light on your feet. And we're seeing this with even the loans, because I was telling Danny, our PPP was approved today. So it's this huge program to help with payroll. It's great. But we bagged with a big bank. The big bank just opened up their portal yesterday. Because, and what's happening is the bigger banks cannot pivot. They cannot be that agile. And because everything was changing on a day-to-day basis, it's the smaller community banks that are really the ones who do these loans. And guess who's dumping their big bank? Me.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going to be really going towards more of this agility in terms of business dealings in general, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And also, they talk about positive mindset, and usually positive mindset in the last 10 years has been, okay, I'm going to keep my positive mindset after I miss my train, or they don't have the kind of coffee I like at the coffee store, or, you know what I mean? Like, that's how people, I'm going to not let that get to me, and I'm going to, keep my positive mindset. This is when that is much more difficult to do. And, that's what I was kind of hinting out about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are used to that. They're used to like big things going wrong. The 8 or 9 out of 10 people who are not entrepreneurs, they're not as used to such traumatic things going on. So you'll read the paper this morning, you see unemployment numbers, you see different data that's telling you the world's going to end. And that's where keeping a positive mindset really matters. Because it's when things seem crazy, that's where there's opportunity. And if you're in panic mode, you miss it. Well,
moving back to Game of Thrones, which, did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Not really, no.
So there's a character who, Littlefinger, and one of his main lines is, chaos is a ladder. And so what he would do is he would create all this chaos so he could move up. Mm-hmm. But it's true. So in terms of the time, what we have right now is we have an incredible amount of chaos. Everything is shifting. So it's the people who can really jump on that and be like, and I'm assuming that a lot of the businesses that are being developed are things that help people at home, mm-hmm. right? So like the education, the child, all of the education for children, services that bring things into your house. Like all that Zoom, all the technology, I'm assuming is booming right now, right?
Yeah, and the way that you offer it is different too. So like when you approach people now, it's like, don't just try to sell them your product. Like maybe give them your product, or give them part of your product, or educate them about your product, or something like that. The focus and how you approach them is a little different right now. you know, based on where we are, because it's, you know, it's not that everyone's broke, it's everyone feels broke. So you've got to approach people in that mindset, which is more giving. So give them something first, and then that will help engage them to do to do business with you.
Well, that's why it's been great for us to do our videos about the in-home process, and we're getting such good feedback. I talked to our nephew Ben, his girlfriend's mother, who I met, once. She's like, "Oh my God, Lisa's video was so helpful," and I was like, "Oh my God, it was so cool," because we have this wealth of information, and it's been limited to people who come into the office.
Yeah.
And a lot of it isn't published, and even if it is published, it's not like it's in one book. So,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so to really put it out there and put in the videos and be like, okay, there are ways to get through this a lot easier.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we're looking back at history. How did companies come back after the Great Depression? Like, how did companies come back after a war? Like things like that. Like, that's what we're looking at now. It's like how were companies able to recover and build?
Right.
Very.
You're breaking up a little bit. I think my internet is being annoying. Go ahead.
Oh no.
Go ahead. What did you just say?
Yeah, I was just saying. I think we covered a lot of stuff. I think like for someone's attention span, we're like probably maxed.
Well, this has been great, and thank you so much for coming on my little thing, whatever I'm doing here. It's super fun, and
yeah, I like it too.
It's great. Well, if you think of other words of wisdom you'd like to share, I've already had one repeat guest, so by all means.
Nice. Very cool.
Well, tell the girls I said hi, and hope your day goes pretty well.
I will. It was great being on your show, and I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right. Love ya.
Love you. Okay. Bye-bye.